Hey everyone, welcome to the College Lead YouTube channel. My name is Kristen and I'm here to help you perfect your college application process. On this channel, I cover everything from how you can plan out your extracurriculars all the way up until what to even write about in your personal statements for college apps. If that sounds interesting to you, be sure to subscribe. I know that AP test season is approaching, so I wanted to share a few tips on how you can maximize your chances of getting a perfect score on those tests. With that, let's get started. Tip number 1, get a prep book. You might be wondering, why do I need a prep book if I am already taking the AP class in school? Well, so oftentimes what you learn in high school, especially if you are in the public school system, is not going to be enough to really help you get that perfect score of a 5 or even a high score of a 4 on the exam. And even if your class is rigorous, you would still want to maximize your chances of getting that 5 by doing some extra supplemental study. So while perfect grades and a perfect test score are not required to get into a top school, it will still certainly help. If you're curious to see how schools like Harvard factor in your AP exam test scores and also your SAT scores and GPA into their admission process or their candidate evaluation process, you can take a look at this video here. I actually shared some documents on how Harvard actually evaluates its applicants. And that should serve as a good reference for any other college that does a holistic admission process. So going back to the question, why do you need a prep book? It's an excellent supplement to maximize your chances of getting a high score. There are a few standard prep books out there. For instance, any book from Kaplan, Princeton Review, Barron's Guide. Those are a good few places to start. So take a look at those books and see if you can purchase them. They're usually available on Amazon, and if you're looking for something a little bit more affordable, oftentimes you can find those prep books for sale just for a couple of bucks on eBay. So now that you have a prep book in addition to your regular coursework, the question is now, how or where do you even start? And this brings us to tip number 2. Choose one prep book to use as your main go-to reference. This prep book will be your base layer. Read this book from the beginning all the way to the end and do all of the practices. The reason why I recommend picking one book and knowing that thoroughly and completely is because that is going to be much more effective to have a solid foundation rather than a sort of patchwork of selected sections from different books and curriculums. In general, prep books are designed to really optimize the materials for what you need to know for the test. So if you just choose one book to know through and through, you'll be well prepared for the test. And a quick tip, quite obvious, but I feel like I should say it, do not cram in one of these prep books. Depending on what AP class you're taking, the textbook can be like this long down to this long, but even when it's this short, it is quite dense. So be sure to start early. I would recommend starting to read through the prep book and go through the exercises maybe sometime over winter break after you have had a chance to review some of the material in the first semester of high school. So how do you go through this prep book? First, read through it thoroughly. Go from the beginning all the way to the end. Oftentimes in the beginning, there'll be a diagnostic test. You can feel free to take that or not, but I still recommend reading every single section of that prep book. Even if there is a topic or a chapter you're already quite familiar with, it never hurts to just refresh your memory and just reinforce the facts that you'll have to remember. So after you have read the book from beginning all the way to the end, now is the time to strategically think about where do you want to focus your study time. After you have had a chance to read through the book from the beginning all the way to the end, now is the time to identify gaps in your understanding. This is a good chance to go back to that beginning diagnostic test because now you've read through the entire book. So take that test in the beginning and see which areas you tend to struggle in. And those are the areas that you want to go back to review the concepts and commit that to memory. In terms of how to review the material and commit it to memory, it really comes down to what learning strategies are most effective for you based on the way of how you absorb information. For me personally, I am a very strong audio person. Maybe that comes from my music background, but oftentimes after I hear something 3 or 4 times, I can just commit it to memory like that. So sometimes I would go on YouTube actually and just Google that same topic. Let's say I'm struggling with cellular respiration. I'll Google cellular respiration, and there was this amazing YouTube channel called Bozeman Biology, and I'm sorry if I butchered the name. I will link it down below in case if he's still making content, but his channel is great, and oftentimes I'd watch the video, and sometimes if I'm just in the car, I'll listen to the to the audio of that, and just over and over again. And over time, I just found myself committing everything to memory. So that's something that worked for me. A few other strategies that also worked for me was first, highlighting different portions of the textbook. Second, coming up with different acronyms for different processes. And lastly, my favorite is turning different terms that I struggle with into flashcards. And those are flashcards that I would write out myself, so I get that iteration of writing it down and seeing it visually. And then I'd also just always flip through them whenever I have some waiting time before my next class, or if I'm on a commute, or if I'm just at home and have a quick few minutes before I eat a meal. So those are strategies that worked for me, but for you, you might be a completely different learner. Maybe you are more of a visual person, so drawing out charts and diagrams can be helpful. One tip that I've given a student is take a blank page, and let's say you're struggling with cellular respiration. I'm only using this example because it comes to mind, and also AP Biology is my favorite. But just write out the process completely by memory and by scratch, drawing arrows and diagrams. And even if something you're not sure is right, still put it down on paper. And then after you do that, go check it with your textbook and see where you got the process wrong. And then do that same exercise again tomorrow. And trust me, you'll remember the mistake that you made and you won't make that mistake again. And this is a really good way to practice. This also gets to a key or core concept that I really want to emphasize. And if there's anything you take away from this video, I want you to remember this. Consistency is more important than quantity. This goes to the idea that cramming really doesn't work, and I truly believe that and also know that from personal experience. What is actually going to be more effective in terms of, let's say, memorization or even absorbing complex topics is if you just do a consistent review at a regular routine basis, maybe daily or even weekly. There have actually been studies that have shown that, let's say, if you're practicing piano, you review a difficult passage for 10 minutes one day, and you go back and do 10 minutes the next day, and you go to do 10 minutes the next day. If you do that throughout a week, maybe that'll be 70 minutes because there's 7 days in a week. Versus if you cram all 70 minutes in a single day, the difference in performance is actually huge. You get a lot more improvement in performance in that consistent schedule as opposed to cramming it all in one day. So as you prepare and study for the AP exams, if you have just 5 minutes here and there, take out those flashcards and just quickly review it, and then go on and prepare for your midterm or whatever else you have coming up. Then on the weekend, you can catch up on anything else, but you want to keep that consistency because that's really how you will be able to continue putting on those layers of paint and letting enough time for it to dry before you put another layer on. I hope this analogy sort of helps, but I really like to think of memorization as sort of painting layers. The more you review it in a smart way, in a learning strategy that works for you, the better prepared you will be for the test. As you get closer to the test date, make sure to do actual practice tests where you try to mimic or copy the real testing environment as much as possible. So phones, laptops, put them in a separate room, give them to a family member, give them to a sibling, give them to your parents, and then have yourself time yourself as you go through each of the sections. And this is also a great way to identify any gaps in your understanding so that you can go back to your book and review. And now, since you already have a solid foundation from reviewing that single prep book from beginning all the way to the end, this is a good chance to supplement any information from other prep books. So here's an example. For AP Biology, I scored a 5, and then I also scored an 800 on the subject test, the molecular version. And how I achieved that was I really studied Barron's Guide, and that was my go-to prep book. Then after I had reviewed that and almost had everything in that book memorized, I started referencing Kaplan and Princeton Review. I didn't read those books front to back because there wasn't time, and those were huge books. Instead, I looked at the table of contents and tried to identify, are there any sections that look unfamiliar to me that Barron's Guide maybe didn't cover in as much depth? If that was the case, then I'd go into those books and review. But in this way, you can really build upon the solid foundation that you've already established. Feel free to leave any questions that you have in the comment section, and I'll get to them as soon as I can. And also, if you have any suggestions for future videos I should do. I hope this was helpful, and if it was, be sure to give this video a thumbs up and also subscribe for more content like this. I try to post once every week. I'll see you in the next one.